Well, it's only 6:30 in the morning, and instead of spending my time on the computer and answering YouTube comments this morning, I thought I would come up to the shop before the sun was up and get a little bit of work done. That way, once the sun is up and the day gets a little bit warmer, I can get back to work on the remodel project and still have a little bit of forge work under my belt today. This morning I'll be working on some holdfasts for woodworkers, and my first step is just to get the shank ready, which involves some texturing with the needle scaler. So it's loud and annoying and not very blacksmithy, but it does help the holdfast work better. So it's a valuable step. Now, I've shown the entire holdfast process making one of my more simple holdfasts, so I'm not going to show that today. This is just another vlog style video with a brief look at doing the texturing on this, just so you know I'm still doing some blacksmithing. Well, that's just a brief look at working on the holdfasts. I'm going to continue to work on those while the sun finishes coming up. And then I think Janet and I will head over to the local coffee shop, have a little bit of breakfast. Then I'll get back to work on the shop remodel. But I think we'll talk about a little bit more of that today before we call this video quits. So stick around, there's more yet to come. Well, I got back to work. I got the stall mat. This is a 1/2 inch thick rubber mat that you get from a feed store for horse stalls or for horse trailers. And it's cut to size with the mounting holes pre-drilled, so we should be able to drill right through the base of the hammer, through the mat, and into the concrete to put the anchor bolts in. Should be a real easy job to anchor it. By putting the rubber mat under the hammer, that will help reduce vibrations a little bit more, and it takes up any little lumps and bumps and irregularities in the concrete. I also cut 4 rubber washers to go with it, so they are the same material, and these will go under the other washers, which I still have to cut some 3-inch diameter 7/8 washers out of some 1/4 inch plate, just so I can have big washers to make anti-vibration mounts for the hammer, and that will also help keep it quiet and keep it from vibrating the whole shop. So hopefully this all works. Now it's time to drill the mounting holes for the Little Giant and the treadle hammer, and I'll get the epoxy anchors set in today. It'll take 48 hours for them to completely cure, so I won't be able to actually snug the nuts down and use either the Little Giant or the treadle hammer, probably till Monday morning. The anchor bolts are just threaded rod. They go 6 inches into the hole with the epoxy, and it's an 1/8 inch oversized hole. So these are 1/2 inch threaded rods. I'm drilling a 5/8 hole, and just follow the manufacturer's instructions. And then I add a washer and a lock nut to each of these. Guarantee they don't fall too far into the hole if I over drill. And temporarily put them in, make sure they fit. This one could be just a hair deeper, I think. So the product that I'm using is a Simpson product called Set XP. This is just what's available where I buy stuff like this. I got this from McMaster Carr, but other industrial suppliers and other places that sell fasteners will have fastener epoxy. This particular one, I like it because it fits in a regular caulking gun. A lot of them are a side-by-side tube, and you need a special gun to dispense the stuff. So I kind of like this because I don't have to buy another tool I don't really need very often. All the instructions are on the tube. If you haven't read the instructions already, make sure you do that. And this is both epoxy components in kind of a side-by-side tube. There's an inner and an outer tube. And it's got this mixer that will swirl it around and get it all mixed for you, as well as an applicator so you can get it all the way down in the holes. And you need to fill the holes about 2/3 full or a little less. I don't know if you can see that, but here it's black and white, and by the time it gets here it's gray, and I'm going to put a little bit out on something sacrificial. Yep, that's coming out nice and gray, so I can go ahead and put that all the way down in the hole. Make sure you get all the little bubbles out of it. And I like to pick back up on it. That doesn't quite look like it's got enough epoxy, so I'm going to put a little bit more in. Got air bubbles, it pushes the bolt back up. So I just need to do that to all 4 of these on the Little Giant and all 4 of them on the treadle hammer. Well, I got lucky and I managed to get both the treadle hammer and the Little Giant anchored down with just 1 tube of this epoxy, so I've got a spare tube that I can keep on hand for some future project. I always buy more than I think I'm going to need because it's really the pits to get 3 out of the 4 anchors done on one of the tools, and then you got to wait for another tube to show up to get that 4th anchor done. So those are all anchored down. Well, I shouldn't say anchored. The anchors are all epoxied in. I need to wait for the epoxy to cure. If you look at the instructions on this, it says that anything over 70 degrees actually cures in 24 hours. Unfortunately, this time of year, my ground is not 70 degrees. It's probably more like 60. And at 60 degrees, it takes 48 hours to cure. Below that, it takes 72 hours to cure, but I don't think the ground is that cold yet. The ground hasn't frozen. The shop isn't getting that cold, even though it's frosted a little bit outside. The ground underneath me is still not the least bit frozen. It should still be pretty warm. So I'm hoping that it's still at least 60 degrees, but I'll wait till Monday morning, and that's closer to the 72-hour time frame anyways. So we ought to be okay to tighten the nuts down then, and then I can use the treadle hammer and the Little Giant. And Tuesday, we'll get the same Mac hammer, and it'll be pretty much the same process. It won't be the exact same product. Helmet is going to bring the anchors and the anchoring stuff, and it may be a different product. It may have a faster cure time. It may have a slower cure time. I have no idea. We'll see what he brings. So what else did I get done today? Well, I also managed to cut out the beam that went across between these 2 posts. That was the old beam that supported the rafters, and that left 1 rafter unsupported. So that rafter has now been headed off. I put some joist hangers on a header, and I've cut that off back here, and that gives me 84 inches of total height here. And the hammer itself is 76.5 inches tall, so I have a fair amount of space. This is how tall the hammer will be, and that gives me enough space to be able to take the top cover off if I need to for maintenance, and hopefully I won't have any space issues getting the hammer in. I'm going to have to put another thin rafter in out here to support the new roof after the hammer's in, but I'll wait till it's slid in place and see what kind of space I have to work with. So that's about all I've got today. I need to sweep up. It seems like a project like this requires a half an hour, an hour every afternoon, putting tools away, sweeping the floors, cleaning up after yourself, just so you can do it all over again tomorrow. So I hope you enjoyed that. Give it a thumbs up if you did. Love it if you hit that subscribe button. This is a great opportunity to go back and watch some of the older videos where we actually did some forge work. Although this morning we did get a little bit of forge work in on the holdfasts. I will put a link right up here to a video where we made some holdfasts start to finish, and you can see that entire process if you're interested in seeing the whole process. But if not, do take some time to watch some of the other videos. In the meantime, I hope you can get out to your shop. I hope you can make something, but do stay safe, do wear your safety glasses, and we'll see you for the next one.